Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Oh, what a good energy. Welcome to the final Story Slam of the season. Give that a round of applause because it's been an awesome season that we've had here. I just wanted to let you know that we had the highest number of applicants we have ever had in the history of our Story Slams from the past 8 years, just for this month. It was not an easy decision to make, but we had some amazing people, and I'm really excited about tonight's show. So welcome to Cinema 505. I'm Jennifer Cambris. I'm the Director of Production and Special Projects here at Montclair Film. The bar is open tonight, so please feel free to get some concessions while I'm making some announcements and during the deliberation after the storytellers finish up. We wanted to take a few moments to let you know about some upcoming events from Montclair Film. Tomorrow night on May 29th, we have Montclair Improv Comedy at Cinema 505. Then we'll have one more improv night of the season, which is going to be on Friday, June 26th. Our B-Sides at the Bellevue series is partnering with Out Montclair on the evening before Montclair Pride. If you don't know about Montclair Pride, it's going to be on June 13th this year. It's amazing. Give it a big round of applause. We love our friends over at Out Montclair. But on June 12th, the night before, please join us for the cult classic Pink Flamingos, along with a performance by New Jersey's #1 female delusionist, Miss Indillusion. We have a special talk on the story of America in 10 films with Will Kuhn on June 18th here at Cinema 505. Our Juneteenth screening is happening on June 19th. This year we were going to be showing the film Seeds at the Claridge. If you didn't catch Seeds when we had it at the festival, it's incredible, and we could only do 2 screenings of it, so it's a really special treat that we get to do a 3rd screening of it. Also, our annual movie night Under the Stars series was just announced. We'll be showing free outdoor movies in the parks across Montclair throughout the summer. Our first film will be the 2006 hit Cars, because it's the 20th anniversary, and we found out it's our front of house staff at the Claridge and the Bellevue. It's their favorite movie. So we're like, guys, we got you. So that's going to be at Nishwain Park. The other films that we're going to be showing, Anderson Park in July is going to be Best in Show. So if you have any furry friends at home, we'd love for you to parade them around before we watch Best in Show in memory of Catherine O'Hara. And then the other movie that we have lined up is Zootopia 2. That'll be at Brookdale Park in August. And we have a 4th screening that is in the works, so we will announce that when it's ready. We have limited space available at our summer academy with classes for teens and adults. It's a great way to learn a new skill this summer while having a blast. Visit the education page on our website for all the details. Thank you to all of our Montclair Film members. Members, please raise your hand. You know I love shouting you out. Woohoo! Give the members a round of applause. We adore our members. They're so important to us. They receive discounts on tickets to the festival, the Claridge, the Bellevue, along with so many other perks, and you'll be helping us support the work that we do all year long. So if you're interested, please come. You can ask myself or one of our judges, who will be announced in a moment, any questions you may have about membership. Please visit our website to find information and buy tickets for all of our theaters and events in one place at montclairfilm.org. Be sure to sign up for our emails and follow us on social media to make sure you're the first to know about everything we've got going on. Please note your fire exits are on your left and your right, and the restrooms are on the left and outside the door. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our host for the evening, Duncan Miller. He is our, yeah! Agreed, guys. Those are the regulars that started clapping right away. He's our storytelling teacher and coach here at Montclair Film. Duncan is a former actor and improviser who has performed with the Second City and Improv Olympic in Chicago. After performing in theater and short films and festivals in New York City, Chicago, and Baltimore, he earned his master's in education. Currently, he is an academic dean at North Star Academy in Newark, helping guide the next generation of storytellers. Please welcome Duncan Miller.
Thank you, everybody. Good evening. I'm so excited to be here. This is my favorite night of the month, and I'm so glad you're here. We saw our members and returners. There are a lot of new faces. Raise your hand if you've never been here before or this is your first Story Slam. All right, let's give it up, members. Welcome them to our community. We're so glad you're here. It is the last Story Slam of the season. Don't cry. We'll be back in the fall. And we're just giving you time over the summer so you can go out and make some memories and then come back and tell us some more stories. So go make those memories this summer. We're excited to hear about it. The theme tonight is Mayday. The stories are going to maybe be a little bit more diverse, a little more challenging, But ultimately, we are here as a supportive community to relate to one another, to understand people a little bit better. And so as we dive into the stories tonight, we're really excited to see how our storytellers interpret this theme of Mayday. We're going to strap in for an interesting ride as we close out our season tonight. Before we dive in and meet our storytellers, we have to meet the people who are actually in charge. We have 3 judges here in our second row. Let's give it up for our judging team. There will be 3 places tonight to score and win. We'll have a first, second, and third place prize. Those members will get a swag bag with Montclair Film swag, and our first place prize always gets a year membership for free as well. So storytellers, bring your A game. We're going to meet our judges just right now, and please make sure you give them a warm welcome as we learn who they are. First up and on the end, this is Sonia Wilson. Give it up for Sonia. Perfect. Sonia is a higher education professional, the deep commitment to advancing student success, career readiness, and equitable access for all students, with a focus on those who are first generation and marginalized. Her work centers on student engagement, workforce development, and building meaningful partnerships between students, employers, and community organizations. Through her works, she strives to empower students with the skills, experiences, and connections needed to thrive personally, professionally, and academically. As a first-generation student and advocate, Sonia also serves as the chairperson of Generation Fearless, a nonprofit organization that serves first-generation women. In this role, she provides strategic leadership to the board of directors, helping guide the organization's vision, strengthen governance, and ensure alignment with its mission. On a personal note, Sonia is married with 1 son and soon-to-be daughter-in-law. Congratulations. Give it up for love. Come on. She is also deeply rooted in her faith and loves to travel. Let's give it up one more time for Sonia. On the other end is Ruben Atlas. Let's give it up for Ruben. Ruben's a filmmaker and former lawyer whose featured documentaries for Netflix include Bill Russell Legend, about the NBA and civil rights icon, and Sour Grapes, which became an answer on Jeopardy and is about a con man in the world of high-end wine. He directed with documentary luminary Sam Pollard, Acorn, and The Firestorm about controversial community organization, which premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival and broadcast on PBS Independent Lens. Recently, he co-directed and executive produced Serras Faroquito, about a famous flamenco dancer, which is currently in theaters in Spain. He was selected for Doc NYC's inaugural 40 Under 40 list, has directed work for LeBron James Spring Hill Company, and has been funded by institutes including Sundance, Tribeca, the IDA, Black Public Media, and ITVS. His films have screened around the world, but most importantly, at the Montclair Film Festival. Let's give it up one more time for Ruben Atlas. In the middle, our third and final judge is Temi Ogundare. Welcome, Temi. Temi is the Member and Development Associate here at Montclair Film. She started just 3 months ago. She is loving it here with the team. She provides administrative, database, and donor support to the development team. Is always looking for how to best assist with fundraising, special events, and most importantly, keeping our members and donors happy. Before joining Montclair Film, she worked with college-age students to guide them through the world of networking events, application and resume support, and spent 2 years working internationally to install solar panels and build schools in foreign countries. When she's not working, she loves to catch a good movie to update her Letterboxd. For everyone who just said, huh? That's Goodreads, but for films. She loves to road trip with friends and family to discover new adventures in and outside of New Jersey. Welcome one more time, Temi. All right, storytellers, let's run through the rules of engagement for tonight. You'll have 6 minutes for your story. The lovely Jennifer in the front row will give you your time cues. When she gives you your green card, you are halfway through at 3 minutes. A yellow card, you have 1 minute remaining, 5-minute mark. And at 6 minutes is the red card. Please wrap up your story. Just to clarify for judges and for our storytellers, 3 scoring criteria tonight. Overall presentation, structure, creativity, story dynamics, things like narrative arc, emotional impact, and of course, be on theme. Heads up, there is no intermission. We're gonna roll straight through. Put on your life jackets, strap into the lifeboats, look for the signal flares in the sky, keep your eyes peeled for those hidden angels as we embark on Mayday. Let's welcome our first storyteller to the stage. This is Farah Abdurrahman. Come on up, Farah.
Mayday, you're only done when you're in the ground. It was Tuesday morning when my Mayday moment arrived, not with a roar, but with a terrifying, muffled silence. I woke up and my left arm was gone. I mean, it was attached to my body, but it was just dead weight, numb. Not slept on it wrong numb, not too many push-ups numb. It was the kind of numb where Google immediately tells you you have approximately 6 minutes to live. So naturally, I panicked. I rushed to the ER convinced I was having what they call a silent stroke, which, by the way, sounds very polite. Like your body doesn't want to disturb you. Silent but deadly, like a fart. The doctor examined me, looked serious for dramatic effect, then finally said, "You're okay, probably just anxiety. You say you always get nervous before a plane trip. Want some lorazepam?" Have you ever had lorazepam? Highly addictive, but absolutely delicious. It will have you nodding out like a crackhead. And because I'm from the generation that handles trauma by pretending nothing happened, and more importantly, refuses to cancel plane tickets, I said, perfect, vacation time. So I flew to San Diego. Beautiful city, sunshine, ocean breeze, fish tacos expensive enough to require financing. And for 2 weeks, everything seemed normal until the last day. I was walking down the sidewalk and suddenly I couldn't walk straight. My balance was off, my vision was blurry. My legs felt disconnected from my body. I felt like a circus clown trying to balance on a tightrope in those big, goofy shoes. And worse, I looked like your drunk uncle trying to find his car after a wedding reception. People were staring at me like, "Ma'am, it's 10 a.m. I wasn't just off, I was failing at basic human movement. Back home, the real tests began. MRIs, CAT scans, blood work, neurological testing, every modern medicine except a lie detector. Then came the diagnosis, myasthenia gravis, an autoimmune disease where your muscles basically stop cooperating with your brain. It's like having a CPU chip removed from your computer, making the computer useless. Picture it. Your brain sends the message, lift the can of wild cherry Pepsi to your mouth. The muscle sees the message and says, "Who the hell are you?" and does nothing. My symptoms became severe pretty quickly. So severe I had to put in for disability retirement. I went from working around heavy equipment, lift gates and trucks, a world of real grit, to sitting on a couch. Nearly everything in your body requires the use of your muscles, except your brain. I had trouble concentrating, trouble writing. At one point, holding a pen felt like I was trying to grip Thor's hammer. Talking became difficult at times. My speech becomes slurred. Breathing can become labored due to a weakened diaphragm and chest muscles. Muscles keep your eyes open. I had to stop wearing contacts because the loss of muscle control had my contacts rolling up into my skull. I could see my brain in 20/20 vision. People ask me, "Are you sleepy?" "No, Brenda, I just walk around with my eye drooping." I considered wearing an eye patch so people would stop looking at me like I was one of those psychotic vintage dolls whose eyes close when you lay them down. It takes muscles to chew and swallow your food. I'm afraid food will lodge in my throat, choking me, and I die. And no one will know until my body starts stinking and they break down my apartment door to find my chihuahua whimpering by my lifeless body and my cat feasting off of my body. And let's not talk about incontinence. Yes, people, the reason you're holding it in right now is because of your muscles. Imagine eye drooping, choking on a cookie, and losing your bowels at the same time. There's no cure, but there is medication to help. The real remedy is rest. You can get up in the morning and feel fine, but then muscles randomly clock out during the day brought on by exertion and stress. By 2 p.m., you're trying to smile and your face says, 404 error, expression not found. And trying harder makes it worse, like trying to run a smart home with no Wi-Fi. That was my Mayday moment, not just because I got sick, but because one version of myself ended and I didn't know what was supposed to come next. People always talk about staying physically fit, go to the gym, drink water, take vitamins, do yoga in expensive Lululemon pants. But no one talks enough about staying mentally fit, because illness doesn't just attack your body, it attacks your confidence. I felt like I was getting weaker every day and dumber every second. And I remember thinking, if my body is failing me, My mind will be next. That was the end of my first era. I refused to let my mind become as useless as my legs, my arms, my entire body. I decided to fight back, doing something I always wanted to do. I went back to school, college. From the quiet, chaotic hallways of the ER to the loud, chaotic halls of Essex County College in Newark, I began my second era. I earned an associate's degree and then transferred to Rutgers University, Newark, earning my Bachelor's of Arts, double majoring in video production and music, with double minors in film production, in film studies and gender studies. And now I'm working on my master's degree, which means my life is completely different from the miserable work life I had to one that I always wanted, working in the creative arts. My current project slate includes 10 full-length films, 3 short films, and 4 TV shows. They may never make it to the screen, but at least I'm creating. I'm using the one thing I have left, my mind. The biggest culture shock, though, is realizing that being in college does not automatically mean people are smart or intelligent. It just means you know how to fill out financial aid forms. My days are filled with lectures, papers, discussions, group projects, and trying to understand why Gen Z starts and ends every sentence with bro. I walk across the campus and hear, bro. That test was like hard, bro. Bro, the professor was wilding, bro. Bro, I literally can't even, bro. I even started calling my boomer mom, bro. Hey, bro, what you doing? You slipped in the bathtub? No, bro. Bro, it's time to get handlebars, bro. Last year, the whippersnappers were yelling 6-7 in the classroom. Yes, in a college classroom. Booty calls are now called sneaky links. And I know what it And I know what it means when somebody yells, "Saibow." You know what that means, don't you? Shut your blank blank up. You'll get it. And the word like appears every 3 words as if it's legally required for like graduation. Navigating a campus where locking in refers to a gaming session rather than a physical safety protocol is certainly an adjustment. There's a certain irony in a transition from heavy machinery to the modern classroom. Those who have spent years around lift gates and heavy equipment have a different definition of grit. Many Gen Z and Alpha students have the emotional resilience of wet tissue paper. You Gen X and millennial parents, yes, I'm blaming y'all a little. No, a lot. You raise kids who think creating and perfecting a TikTok or posting on Instagram counts as hard work. That's not hard work. Hard work is dragging yourself through uncertainty while your body betrays you. Hard work is working 40 hours a week at a job you hate for a company you detest with coworkers you can't stand for 30 years. One of them just died. If these younger generations had to manage a morning routine with myasthenia gravis and popping 7, 8 prescription pills daily, they might realize that true effort isn't always something you can capture in a 15-second clip. And it's the quiet daily persistence of showing up when your body wants to quit, but your chihuahua insists on going out 3 times a day just to smell the same grass she smelled for 14 years and still decides she doesn't want to drop a deuce. Hard work is rebuilding your identity from scratch. Hard work is sitting in a classroom wondering if your brain still works and refusing to give up. And that's what this journey became for me. Not a tragedy, not a defeat, a transition. My Mayday moment became, the end of an era. Sorry. At the beginning of another. Learning, navigating, and constantly expanding my horizons. Just 2 more sentences. My body may have changed the rules of the game, but the comeback is officially in session to a life I never planned for. But strangely enough, a life that taught me that I was still capable of, like, growing bro.
Keep it going for Farrah. Bro.
Thank you for sharing your persistence. What a beautiful second act. Whew. Yes. Thank you. It's hard to go first, and it's hard to bare your soul. So thank you for embracing everybody that's coming up. We appreciate you. We're going to keep it rolling. Let's go to our second storyteller. Let's give it up for Lisa Klein. Come on up, Lisa.
Hi. So I'm 16 years old and I live in suburban New Jersey, and I'm so excited because it's my first driving lesson ever. And I go outside to wait for the instructor, and he pulls up in a pristine, sparkling white Trans Am with an extra brake on the passenger side. And he gets out of the car and he says, "Hello, my name is George Halhalis, but you can call me Uncle George." And as I'm buckling and getting ready, he says, "Listen, Lisa, I know you and all your friends. You've driven before." And I say, "Uncle George, I've never driven before." And he says, "Don't worry, it'll be fine." But it's not fine. I'm in the car. I'm so nervous. I'm holding the steering wheel. My hands are sweating, and I'm staining the beautiful steering wheel. And we're about to get on the highway, and we get on the highway, and Uncle George goes, "You're going too slow. It's dangerous." So all of a sudden, I sort of jam my foot on the gas, and he's like, "You're not holding the lane." And simultaneously, he's grabbing the wheel, jamming on that brake, while simultaneously chain smoking cigarettes. And I'm going, and he's like, "Pull over." So I pull over, and I realize we're at a 7-Eleven. And he goes inside, and he comes out with the biggest cup of black coffee I've ever seen in my life. And he says, "You know, Lisa, I've never had to take a break like this before, ever." We get home, and he says, "I need to talk to your mother." I find out that he asked my mom if I had ever been in a childhood accident. I hadn't. So then my mom takes me out, and my mom is basically reiterating the driver's manual as I'm going. And so there I am, and she's like, 10 and 2, 10 and 2. And then when I get to the intersection, and I'm not sure if I can go or not, she's like, "You need to go with authority." So I'm about to make a really, really sharp left turn by this car wash, and I'm turning, and of course the car didn't have power steering, so it's like sweat and steer, until I look over and I realize that there's a woman and we're about to have a head-on collision. And we literally lock eyes, and I just see her throw her arms and her head back, and she's just embracing going into the light. And so somehow I turn to the right, we get away, and my mother's like, "We're going home." And we get home, and my mom's like, "I'm out." So now I'm gonna go driving with my father. And I'm in the driveway trying to start the car, but it keeps stalling. And that's another thing. In my defense, I was learning on a stick shift, and that is way more challenging. You have to get the friction point and everything. And I'm stalling, and I can hear him muttering and cursing under his breath. And I'm like, "Dad, I can hear you." And I finally get the car started, and we're driving in a different part of town uphill, and I stall out. And I know that he's just so exasperated, I can't even look at him. So I somehow get the clutch and jam on the gas, and I jump the curb, and I wind up on someone's lawn. But the problem is that the person who owns the house is mowing the lawn. And so now I'm driving, chasing the person that is mowing the lawn, and it's like I'm in a movie and I can't stop. And all of a sudden the guy with the lawnmower gets away, and then I turn around, And I go down, and my father's like, we're going home. And then when we get home, he's like, I'm out. So I'm running out of family members. Luckily, I had a cousin, Matthew, who had recently graduated from college. And so he took me, and he had a slightly different approach. He was more patient. He still would let me know about consequences. So like when we were driving down by the duck pond, he's like, well, you almost just killed a family of ducks, but you didn't. And he didn't make me go home. We continued. And he took me out many times. And so I learned there's no rules in parking lots. I learned how to parallel park. And I really owe, learning how to drive and being comfortable from him. So now it's my birthday. So it's the day of my driving test. And my father is driving me to the test. And he looks at me and he says, Lisa, I hope you fail. Now, I want to say that my dad, who's here, is actually the greatest guy and so nice. He really is just thinking about the safety in the tri-state area, okay? So we get there, and I go in with the driving instructor, and I really don't remember doing the course at all. I basically blacked out. I just know that at the end, he looks at me and he's like, well, you passed, but you really need to get some driving lessons. So I go back to the car, and my father and I have the biggest fight of our lives because he insists that I drive home, and I don't want to. I have lost all of my confidence. That thrill of having that freedom of driving in the car with your friends down the highway, blaring Steve Miller, that's gone. And that's gone, and I've lost it. And my father says, you know what, Lisa? You're a driver. Drive. So I get in the car, and I drive on 3 highways. I take Route 17 to Route 4 to Route 208, and I make it home. And I might not have been a great driver. I might not even have been a good driver, but from that day on, I was a driver. Thank you.
All right, keep it going for Lisa Klein. Lisa, quick question. Did you drive here tonight? You didn't. Thanks, Dad. They let you keep the license. How beautiful. When I started to learn to drive, also on a clunker stick shift, it's really restored my faith in humanity. I stalled through the duration of an entire traffic light. But if you drove a stick shift, you understand when you stall, you bum forward, right? So everybody, there was like 10 cars behind me, but nobody honked. Nobody went around. This was before the rookie driver stickers on the back of your bumper, right? Not a single person made a noise. They waited for me to learn. People are okay. Yeah, give it up for people. Let's give it up for another person, because we have another storyteller. Let's welcome to the stage Mickey Petrillo. Welcome up, Mickey.
Hi, my name is Mickey Angelo Petrillo, and it's nice to meet you. I'm going to tell you a story that I've never told to the public before, and it's something very personal, and it's not easy to talk about. I was traveling abroad in May of 2023, and I was in the Morocco airport at 3 a.m., and there was hardly anybody there. And I was walking through TSA, and I was sexually assaulted by a woman TSA agent. And as she was sexually assaulting me, 2 of her male co-workers were egging her on and laughing. I was the only one not laughing. I walked away, and I was in shock. When I finally sat down, I was angry. All of a sudden, I was angry, and I said, I was just violated. And I didn't know what to do with that anger, and I walked around aimlessly until I found 2 police officers. Out of intimidation, when I went up to them, they immediately asked for my passport and also my boarding pass. I explained what was going on, and they defended her and said, well, she must have had a good reason. Okay. And so I was getting nowhere, so I grabbed my passport and my boarding pass, and I ran off to the gate, hiding in the corner, not wanting to be seen. I got home, and I was unable to leave my home. I was stuck in my house. I had double D boobs, and it was difficult to go outside the house and not feel vulnerable. So what I was trying to do was putting ace bandages. I ordered sports bras, very small sports bras, and I was trying to cover them up so that I could feel strong enough to go outside and walk, out my front door. Nothing was working. When I did some research, I found out something called a binder. I ordered the binder. When it came in, I put it on, and I looked in the mirror, and that was my aha moment. I didn't understand what was going on, but understand, since I was 5 years old, I was suicidal. I was depressed. I hated myself. I hated every morning I woke up and said to God, why am I still alive? There was just so much anger in me, and I had no idea why. So I put this binder on, and I look in the mirror, and I can't stop looking at myself. I have no idea what's going on. I just loved what I saw. So I called my therapist, who has been helping me for over 25 years, and we sat down, and she said, do you have gender issues? And I said, I don't understand what you're talking about. And she started talking to me about transgender. Now, I didn't know anybody was transgender. I had no idea. Even though I was a lesbian for 30 years, I had no idea. So we made a game plan. But once I said out loud that I was a man, everything changed. The self-hatred and the anger and the depression just disappeared. Even biting my nails all my life disappeared. I was never happier. I couldn't stop looking at myself in the mirror. So within 6 months, I had planned my surgeries. I had started my hormone therapy. I legally changed my name, and I changed my gender. So this was June. By the end of December, I was fully Mickey Angelo Petrillo. Now, it was a tragic incident that happened to me, but something good came of it. But also, there were bad things. The people that loved Michelle couldn't accept Mickey, okay? Jenny, AKA Mom, told me on Christmas Eve, 2023, 3 days before my 5-hour surgery, she hoped I died and kicked me out of her home, her only child, and she has no other family. That I went into surgery on my mind. I've not seen her since. She will have nothing to do with me. When she found out I was alive, she legally extracted me from her life. So I did lose family, I did lose friends, but I found my new family, my chosen family, okay? And right now, as of tonight, he better finish it, we're making a short documentary called The Man I Was Born to Be. And so that we can submit it tomorrow to the Montclair Film Festival. We just finished my book called Walking the Earth First as a Man, First as a Woman, Then as a Man. And that is going to print next week. Now, it's not an easy journey, and it's very hard to lose, the woman that gave birth to you that's supposed to love you unconditionally. But I've never been happier. What does that say? Okay. I've never been happier in my life, and I'm proud to say I'm Mickey Angelo Petrillo. I'm a trans man. I'm 62 years old, but I'm 2.5. I'm 2.5 living in a 60-year-old male body. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Keep it going for Mickey. I really love that you're 2.5. It's my favorite thing. Enjoy the ride, Mickey. Enjoy the ride. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your bravery, and welcome. We're glad to have you. All right. We're going to keep it going. Let's welcome to the stage our next storyteller. This is Aaron Soleil. Come on up, Aaron.
In the autumn, when the air is fresh and crisp, I feel rejuvenated. My favorite place to walk is Woodland Lake near my house. There's a dirt path covered in fallen leaves. Branches bend overhead to form a canopy of reds and yellows and oranges, all destined for renewal in the spring. The last time I visited this peaceful place, I was lost in thought, contemplating my life's journey. That was until I tripped over a large stone in my path. I went tumbling forward, awkwardly hitting the ground, and everything seemed to be happening in slow motion. My first thought was to admonish myself for not having seen such a large stone in my path. So I quickly stood up and angrily brushed the dirt from my hands and my knees. I was uninjured, but instead of being grateful for this, I had a profound sense of annoyance. Not just because I fell, but a flood of all the little moments each day that had me fuming and complaining. Every car that cut me off on the highway, every tedious noise, every opportunity lost. It was then that I realized this stone meant something much more. It had me thinking that I was fuming and frustrated over so many things that it just was eating me up inside. This stone was frustration. So I bent down and I lifted it up and I felt its heaviness. And I realized I'd been carrying the weight of frustration around for a long time. And it had turned me into a person I no longer wanted to be. So that day, as I moved the stone to the side of the path, I promised myself that the next time I felt this frustration, I would pray for patience instead. No longer would frustration rule over my life. I could have easily turned around and walked back home at this moment, but I knew there were more stones that needed to be cleared from my path. I imagined this next stone to be heavier than the last: failure. In the past, my fear of failure had driven me to become a perfectionist in my career. I had to be everyone's favorite teacher. I went above and beyond to please. The cost, however, was astronomical. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, I was depleted. I burned out after only 12 years in the classroom and resigned from my teaching position. I felt like a failure to my colleagues, my students, my family, myself. It was then that I had an epiphany. I was on the wrong path. From then on, I no longer labeled myself as a failure, but as someone who just needed to change direction. So I began writing inspirational poetry and short stories for Chicken Soup for the Soul, and my book was published just last spring. But my greatest accomplishment is that failure no longer defines me. As I continued on my walk, I imagined this final stone to be the heaviest of them all: fear. Fear of the unknown future, fear of change, fear of losing the ones I hold most dear. Fear is what led to anxiety and depression. So I visualized removing this fear stone and vowed to surrender my fear to faith instead. Faith asks for our trust when we have our doubts and requires a strength much greater than that of any stone. As I returned home that day, I felt welcomed, unburdened. Having lifted these stones from my path, I felt the strength and the power to lift others as well. With a prayer for patience, direction in the face of failure, and faith over fear, I am finally free. Thank you.
Keep it going for Erin. Beautiful, thank you. I fell last weekend. I did not take away the same things. I was bowling, so slippery shoes. And this past winter, I fell one other time. And my daughter and I were walking the dog, and there was some ice, snow on top. And while I was horrified that her first impulse was to laugh hysterically, big tree fall hard, I was heartened by the fact that she understands comedy. So we have that. All right, thank you. We are almost halfway through. Let's welcome our fifth storyteller up tonight. This is Dan Hurley. Come on up, Dan.
Thank you. So it's 1983. I'm 25 years old. I have a nice job. I'm an editor at the American Bar Association in Chicago. And I have a crazy idea that is torturing me. I want to take my typewriter out onto the street and write, I don't know what, for people, like stories or poems or something. In 1983, there were no typewriter poets. That did not exist. It wasn't a thing. So I was like, I had this absurd idea. I told my friends about it, and they said, that's weird, Dan. One night, I was thinking about it in bed, and I got out of bed, and I sat down at my desk, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? And I thought, police might arrest me. Someone might assault me, right? And people will laugh at me. And I thought, I'm fine with all that. That sounds great. So on the 28th of April, 1983, I took my typewriter. I had a folding chair. I went out onto Michigan Avenue in Chicago. And I sat there, and I thought, this seemed like a good idea when I was home, because now I'm feeling extremely embarrassed, really stupid, and nobody's stopping. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Finally, a woman came up and said, what are you doing? I don't know. And, can I write something for you? Okay. I wrote, a few sentences. I take it out of the typewriter. I read it to her, and as I'm reading it, like I'm seeing feet surrounding me, and I look up, and there's like a little crowd around me, and I'm like, what's going on? And people are like, who's next? Can I do it? And, I basically went, what the fuck did I just happen? Because I thought it was going to be like this absurd thing to like tell my kids about one day. So I kept doing it, and I started making money doing it. I was charging $5 a story, and people seemed to love it, and I was loving it. And finally, I decided I was going to quit my job, and I was going to move to New York and do this full time. You laugh. And I tell my boss, that I'm going to do this. And he's like, Dan, please don't do this. And I'm like, Jack, I'm doing it. And I'm on the street for like 2 years. I'm doing this full time. I'm like an encyclopedia salesman. I'm doing it every weekend, every night. And, at $5 a pop, if I do 30 people or 20 people, and a dollar then would be $3 now. So I was making, a few hundred, the equivalent of a few $100 a day. Then I discover that there's this thing called event performers, like magicians and things like that, face painters. And I say, oh, okay, someone invites me, can you come to my party? I'm like, sure. And so I end up this one day, a guy that I know who has booked me for another party says, well, I'm doing this event out in Long Island. Do you want to do it? And I've got a van and I can drive you there. I'm like, sure. I get in the van. There's me. There's a clown. There's a face painter. And there's a guy who does a 5-minute Shakespeare's plays with puppets. And we get there, and the guy tells me, oh, the party doesn't start until midnight. And it's like 4 p.m. We're like, why did you bring us here at this hour? There's no food, there's nothing. We're just standing, sitting around. And finally, it's midnight. There's a bunch of Russians who seem like they were, probably waiting for strippers or something, because they were drinking whiskey, smoking cigars, and they had zero interest in us. And I felt really bad for the guy with the puppets. This was not working. And I was doing a few stories, but we're going, now it's like dawn. We're going home at dawn, and we're in the van, and the clown guy, who still has his makeup on, is like, tells the guy who brought us there, we've talked about it, and we think you should pay us something extra for having been there all this time. And the guy goes, no. And then he says, well, you make all this money. You should share it with us, because we're the ones that did the work. So the guy who's driving pulls over and yells at the clown, if you ever say anything about my money, I will kill you, right? And at that moment, a thought came into my head. Dan, you've got to get out of this. This is not good. And I did not listen to that voice. I kept going. I had a book published. I started a site on America Online for writers when America Online was a big thing. I did a story from the 18th floor roof of a building in Times Square on a single sheet of paper that slowly descended to the sidewalk while I talking to people by a video link. And I met my wife. And so I think and I'm still doing it. And I think the moral is, when you get that crazy idea that you've been thinking about, do it. Thank you.
Let's keep it going for Dan. I love that idea, and I love that you ignored your boss. And I'll be honest, I didn't think it was going to be the van driver threatening the clown. The Russian gangsters missed opportunity. But they're still kids at heart, huh? It's good to know the other side of the gangsters. All right. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, Dan. Take risks, everybody. Let's jump into our next story. This is Mikey Fallon. Come on up, Mikey.
Ever since I was young, I was good at solving equations, whether they be math or people related. I thank my father for the math. I thank my mother for the people. I'll give you an example. When I was in elementary school, there was this boy who would constantly walk up to me, shove me against the wall, punch me in the stomach, and then steal my lunch. I was 6. First grade. This was a difficult equation to solve. But after 2 weeks, I figured out the right numbers to plug in. I went home one night and I said to my mom, tomorrow when you make my lunch, could you please make me 2 lunches, pack 2 snacks, and put 2 drink boxes into my bag? I go to school the next day. The boy walks up to me. He's about to shove me against the wall again. And I said, you don't have to do that anymore. I brought your lunch. Do you want to have lunch with me? And from that day to the end of the school year, we became best friends. Problem solved. You see, I became so good at solving problems that I could solve some within seconds and some took me as long as a couple of weeks. But when I was 11, I came across this problem that almost took me out of this life. And it took me more than a decade to solve. From the ages of 11 to 13, I had a friend named Dave. He was 17. He was tall, eyes sunken, and he had that familiar smell of cigarette butts that I used to pick up from the ground and roll around in my finger. I used to love that smell. And one night, Dave's over my house, and we're walking down the hallway towards my room when Dave reaches out, and he grabs me from the backside, and I froze. But I didn't want to reject him because I hated rejection. Dave could see I was uncomfortable, so he playfully chided me, if it bothers you, I won't do that again. This can be our little secret. I shrug. You see, at 11 years old, I was a broken kid. Shoplifting, setting fires, and self-harm, they were my specialties. Dave knew this, and he took full advantage of me. It went on for 2 years, but when I was 13 years old, my family and I, we moved from that town, and I never saw Dave again. But now, it's April, and I'm 22. And I'm a few weeks from graduating with my bachelor's degree. I have a 3.83 grade point average, graduating magna cum laude. I've been selected to be the commencement speaker, and I've just been informed that I've been accepted to the premier doctoral program in clinical psychology. My immigrant parents are beyond proud. They start inviting every Jamaican they know, right, to my graduation. People I've never met. And the conversations I was having with my father at this time were priceless. Mikey, I'm going to invite brother so-and-so to your graduation. You remember him? No? But you met him when you were 2. When we lived over on Linden Boulevard. I love making my parents proud of me. That's the good part. Simultaneously, however, I'm taking this counseling class, and my professor has written some words and phrases on the board. Setting fires, shoplifting, lying, manipulation, hurting small animals. She says, class, please pay attention. These are indicators of trauma. Your future patients may mask their pain behind some of these behaviors. And then she wrote, being touched inappropriately, and she drew a line from that phrase to one other word, molestation. I panic. My professor is not talking about future patients. She's talking about me. And for the first time in my 22 years, I had the word and the truth of what Dave had done. He violated me. How could I be so stupid? I felt so disgusting and so shameful. And I kept repeating that mantra, I hate myself, I hate myself, I hate myself. I needed a lifeline. So I reach out to my friend Charlie, who's a youth pastor, and I tell him everything, and I tell him that I'm losing the will to live. And he says, Mike, I love you. It wasn't your fault. You're going to heal from this pain, but you're not going to like what I'm going to tell you next. When you heal from that pain, you will need to talk about it again because there'll be so many others who need to heal. And I didn't know what Charlie meant at that time, but those words helped. I started journaling and writing poetry and watching films, and my personal favorite, I love walking through cemeteries while listening to music. And so one day, I'm in the cemetery, and I'm listening to this band called Cloud Cult. And they have this song, and it has this line that makes me cry every time, like when I watch the sunset. And it says, "We are not broken ones, just shattered pieces of the same bright sun." And I finally understand it. This journey I'm on has nothing to do with getting a doctorate on my GPA. It has to do with being a survivor and finding a way to speak those uncomfortable truths so that maybe someone else can find comfort. Fast forward, 2016. I'm now Dr. Mikey Fowlin, clinical psychologist, and I'm speaking at a middle school in New Jersey. And I share a little portion of my story of Dave. And at the end of my presentation, this 8th grade girl, she's sitting in the front row, and she gets up from her seat, and she comes running up to me, and she's sobbing. And when she reaches me, she just grabs me, and she holds me. And then she steps back, and she goes, "Thank you. Thank you for not ending your life when you were in college, because today you just saved mine." Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. The power and resilience on display tonight. Thank you. Shall we take a breath together? I'll let you close my eyes. You don't have to do that, but in through your nose, out through your mouth always helps me. Focus on that resilience. All right. Are you ready for another storyteller? Let's keep it going. Let's welcome to the stage Bob Sinecki. Come on up, Bob.
I am so embarrassed. These stories have been so profound, so beautiful, so inspiring. Mine is a drop in the bucket. But I don't want to get off the point. The topic is Mayday. And when you get to be a certain age, anytime you hear about a medical procedure, it's Mayday. Your knees say, Mayday. Your cholesterol says, Mayday. Your bladder says, Mayday. And the doctor's always talking about a new test. So when I went to the doctor a couple of months ago, and we started talking about the colonoscopy, he said, you know, you're pretty good. I think you could go for a couple of more years. He said, but if you didn't like the full colonoscopy, they've changed now. There's a new at-home easy test called Cologuard that you might be interested in. I said, well, what is it? He said, it's really easy. All you do, you take a little poo, you put it in a box, you bring it to UPS. I said, okay, fine, sounds good. But then I should have known right away. Why would he look at someone my size and say, take a little poo, put it in a box, take it to UPS? Well, let me tell you, once you say okay, the emails start coming. Hi, your test is on the way. Hey, your test arrived. And that little smile is on the box looking at you. And it follows you. You put it in the office, you put it on a counter in the kitchen, and it looks at you. It's like a little Disney character, like Thumper. Well, anyways, you start getting more emails saying, you have 2 more days to do this. You have 1 more day to do this. Best if you do it in the next 12 hours. I have to tell you, it's not something that you wake up and say, fine day, I think I'm going to do my Cologuard test today, okay? So the day comes, kind of get things situated in the bathroom, and of course you put the pamphlet in your pocket. That's when your neighbor knocks on the door, okay? and the little smile is looking out, and it's almost like the pamphlet is poking at you saying, your neighbor knows. You take everything up to the bathroom. My 5 by 5 foot bathroom. I've got gloves. I've got a bucket. I've got something that's cantilevered. I've got serums. I've got little specimens, all kinds of things. They're all there. I got the bucket and I kind of cantilever it over the toilet bowl. And I'm there and I think, what is this? Cirque du Soleil for seniors? I'm all set. It's the moment of truth. My wife happens to come upstairs. I go, for God's sakes, do not come in this room. Well, eventually it happens. And I'm looking in the middle of this too. There's a 30-page pamphlet. 30 pages of instructions while you're doing this. The worst part is that when it's all over, you've got to put everything back inside the box. So now you're talking to the box saying, please close, okay? You get it in and you go to the UPS store, which is the worst part of all. Because you walk in and everybody knows. Everybody knows. You feel a little weird, and you can almost feel the box shaking and saying, nobody else had any problems going in there. Well, you walk in and the UPS clerk goes, hey, sir, how are you today? And then he looks down. And then he just takes it like it's something radioactive, okay? It's a little heavier, a little warmer than the other packages. He tosses it. You hear him toss it in the back. Sir, okay, I'll be right with you. Give me a second. Like a grenade, okay? And I hear him go, Mayday! Now, when everything is said and done, it's a great alternative to go for the traditional colonoscopy. But I have to tell you, if anybody has been through it, I'm urging you, stand up with me. Take the pledge. It is not easy for anybody to deliver the goods, process the goods, mail the goods. It's not easy for anybody except that little face. And if you've done it, here's our call. Stand with me. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Thank you.
All right, let's keep it going for Bob. The juxtaposition of the human experience is fascinating. Some stories are empowering and some are shitty. I had to do it as a layup, Bob, I'm sorry. Thank you. I really am, UPS is the one that takes it? I thought they had standards. Well, we're learning a lot tonight. Let's keep it going. Our next storyteller, this is Jennifer Scharf. Come on up, Jennifer.
According to Merriam-Webster, Mayday is defined as internationally recognized radio signal used as a distress call during a life-threatening emergency. It's mostly used by pilots and sailors, and protocol requires the word be repeated 3 times. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. When my father called to tell me he was dying of cancer, I didn't know what to do with the grief. So I did what I always do in a crisis. I started planning. My parents had divorced when I was in college, and for the next 30 years, my access to my father was limited. Suddenly, after decades of distance, we were on borrowed time together. How do you make up for 30 years in a matter of months? The caretaking started immediately. I drove him to radiation and chemo appointments in a last-ditch attempt to hold on to life. Oddly enough, those drives became my favorite part. Sitting in the car together, we talked more honestly than we ever had before. No distractions, no performance, just the two of us trying to outrun time. So my siblings and I decided to throw him a surprise 77th birthday party. We had to move fast, rent the venue, organize decorations, get the food and music, all against the backdrop of doctor appointments and the emotional exhaustion of watching someone slowly disappear in front of you. Naturally, the first thing to go catastrophically wrong was the DJ. I found him on Craigslist, which in hindsight was probably the first warning sign. He suggested we meet in the parking lot of a Wendy's to discuss the contract. This was definitely another red flag. I arrived and this man pulls up carrying a giant silver metal briefcase like he's transporting nuclear codes. He dramatically places it on the trunk of his car, clicks it open, and inside is one single sheet of paper, the contract. I also noticed he was missing a finger. I didn't want to ask him how he lost the finger. Clearly, that was none of my business. But I was sure that he could probably DJ with 4 fingers. He asked for a cash deposit, stuffed the paper back into the briefcase, and disappeared into the night. The morning of the party was complete chaos. I was already stressed out beyond human capacity, and when I got a text from an unknown number, "I'm sorry, we will not be able to make it. I had an emergency. I broke my hip, and I'm still in the hospital. Please wish George a happy birthday." I stare at my phone in disbelief. Are you effing serious? Then a picture came through of someone in a hospital bed. It looked suspiciously fake, like a Facebook scammer meme, and I was not gonna fall for it. I texted back, "Dude, that's hilarious. I'll see you tonight. Thanks for the heart attack." And then he replied, "Please understand I can't walk and I'm in a lot of pain." I text back, "Nice try. I knew you were a con artist when I met you in the Wendy's parking lot. This is my Venmo to return my deposit." At this point, I was convinced the DJ was running some elaborate fraud operation and draining my bank accounts. I frantically canceled all my credit cards. And then we race over to Costco and buy a giant speaker system and start building a last-minute emergency playlist. I was the first person at the VFW hall setting up the tables when suddenly I hear an aggressive pounding on the back door. I froze. "Who is it?" "It's the DJ," a voice shouted back. "We're outside with the equipment." I opened the door and there he was, the Craigslist DJ, very much upright, very much not with a broken hip. And I show him the text messages. He looked genuinely confused and he said, "I never sent these." And I show him the hospital photo and he's like, "That's not me." And then he got really serious and he said, "Let's call the number." And so I did. Someone answered and immediately hung up. And the DJ slowly nodded. "Yeah, that's suspicious." And then he leaned in closer and said, "I think it might be one of my rival DJs." I'm sorry, what? You have rival DJs? Apparently, there's an underground network of competing DJs sabotaging one another's birthday party bookings. At this point, we were both deeply suspicious of each other, but there wasn't time to unpack any of this, so I let him inside. And a few minutes later, my 2 sisters walked in, and I watched the DJ's face completely collapse. "Jesus Christ," he whispers, "how many of you are there?" And honestly, that was a fair question. We were acting a little unhinged. But somehow the party turned out okay. People danced and had a good time, and for a few hours we were not, thinking about the cancer. And then midway through the night, I realized my aunt, who I hadn't seen in almost 40 years, never showed up to the party. I looked back at my phone, and suddenly it hit me. The hospital texts were from my aunt. My actual aunt, who actually broke her hip. I spent the entire day accusing an injured elderly woman of orchestrating a fake DJ cancellation scam. I immediately sent her a long apology explaining that I thought she was part of some bizarre rival DJ conspiracy. When my dad asked me what happened, he laughed so hard he couldn't breathe, and then he said, "Don't worry about it. Just tell her you were on drugs." Tell her I was on drugs? Because apparently that's better than just being totally insane. We laughed about the story for the rest of his life, and then exactly 1 year later, my phone rang. "Hi," the voice said. "I have an event marked on my calendar for George. I'm just calling to confirm." Mayday, mayday, mayday. It was the DJ calling. Without missing a beat, I said, "George is dead. Do you play funerals?" Silence. Then I hear the pure panic in his voice as he realized exactly who I was. No, he said quickly, no, I do not play funerals, and he hung up immediately. And I am absolutely certain he deleted my number forever.
Let's keep it going for Jennifer. I saw none of that coming. Wow. I was hoping the pinky was in the rival standoff. Man. Whew. Thank you, Jennifer. That's hilarious. All right, let's keep it going. We just have 2 more stories for you tonight. Let's welcome to the stage Carolyn Duarte. Come on up, Carolyn.
I'm a little short. Yeah, thank you. Do you remember where you were in April of 2024 when we had that earthquake? You know, the one that Californians laughed at? Yeah, that one. I remember exactly where I was. I was alone at work in a mausoleum, which is kind of an ironic place to have a casual brush with mortality, if you think about it. And at this point, I feel that I should explain what I do for a living. I sell death. Not in a creepy way, more like in a brochure with fluffy white clouds and smiling elderly couple kind of way. I help people with their cemetery arrangements. Burial spaces, mausoleum crypts, you know, the kind of stuff that keeps dinner parties really upbeat. So there I was in my office, in a mausoleum, surrounded by marble and silence. And yeah, some dead bodies. When the ground started shaking. Now, Californians, they know how to deal with earthquakes, right? They have a lot of experience, sadly. They have protocols. In New Jersey, thankfully, we don't have that level of experience. We are more prepared for diner menus that are 47 pages long. Or making that jug handle turn from the left lane with seconds to spare. That we got. Earthquakes, not so much. So there I was, gripping my desk chair while the walls started to tremble and the windows were rattling. And my brain is trying to process what's happening. And it goes from, no, this can't be, to full-on panic of, oh my God, this is an earthquake. I didn't know what to do. Do I dive under my desk? Do I run outside? Do I hide in the windowless bathroom? Or was that for a hurricane? I didn't know. So I then had this thought that hit me pretty hard, and it was, I might die here alone. Which, if you think about it, is such a weird thought because people don't necessarily plan to die together, right? But there was something about the thought of dying alone in a cemetery that felt especially pathetic to me. I could hear the people now. Did you hear? She died at the cemetery. She was efficient to the end, that Carolyn. And that imaginary scenario brought on this wave of rage and regret. And I thought, oh, hell no. This cannot be how my story ends. Because the truth was, I hadn't even started to live the life that I wanted. All those things I kept saying that would happen someday. Become a life coach. Share my writing with the world. For years, I had good reasons not to start. I was a single mom. And then I found myself moving my newly blended family during a pandemic. Then launching teenagers one after the other, one by one, into college like it's a free throw drill. Life just always kept demanding one more thing from me before I could start. But sitting there in that moment, I thought, well, shouldn't someday always be today? I mean, when did I think someday was going to arrive? Like show up on my doorstep like an Amazon delivery? I realized at that moment that someday is not a plan. It's purgatory for your dreams. And with that realization, I had what I now refer to as my Dickens moment. Scrooge had a foggy Victorian cemetery. I had fluorescent lighting and a protein bar in my desk drawer. I didn't meet with the three ghosts per se, but I did have a very dramatic internal meeting with little girl me, who was looking up at me with so much hope in her eyes. And then there was future life coach me, who was looking at me like, seriously? A cemetery? Come on. And with that, I turned upwards and I uttered out loud, please, God, please give me my second chance life. And then it stopped. The room went quiet. And with my heart still pounding and still gripping the arms of my chair, I thought, holy shit, God heard me. And then, wait, did everyone get that earthquake or is it just me? As if to answer that question, my boss comes running in and he says, that we had an earthquake. Are you okay? Did you feel it? And me, totally relieved that I didn't have a life intervention from God, I said, yeah, you did too? He said, nope, not me. I was driving my Subaru. Felt nothing. I'm here renegotiating my soul contract with God, and he's giving a testimonial for Subaru. After he left, I tried to settle back into my workday, but I really couldn't concentrate. So instead, I Googled life coaching programs, and I signed up right then and there. As of this day, I am a certified life coach. I launched my website, thank you. And with my lease coming up soon, I am strongly considering a Subaru. It's funny, I sell death for a living, but that day, death sold me on living. Thank you.
All right, keep it going for Carolyn. I have a Subaru. I did actually feel that earthquake, and it was the first time I was like, it's real. It's happening. Thank you. A lot of these lines tend to stick with me after these stories. Someday is not a plan. Someday is purgatory. It's probably not exactly what you said, but that, I'm keeping it. Thank you for sharing. All right, we have come to our final story. Let's welcome to the stage Joel Schwartzberg. Come on up, Joel.
Thank you. You may be thinking, as I am, that storytelling is time travel. We're all going back to our own memories, and so today I'm going to bring you back to 1998. On what was a promising morning in 1998, I found myself in a conference room with 15 of my colleagues. We were called in early, which for us was 9 a.m. We were called in early for a meeting, the purpose of which we had no idea. Now, we were all producers for a website for the world's biggest kids entertainment brand. I'll give you a hint, it rhymes with Sickalodian. I was a few days from my 30th birthday, and I was about 3 years into this job, which was not only the best job I had ever had, it was Sickalodian after all. But I thought it was the best job I would ever have. Finally, about 10 minutes after the hour, some executives came into the conference room, led by the general manager. I caught his eye for a moment, but then he looked away, as if he were a juror avoiding eye contact with a defendant that he was about to fry. It made me a little nervous, but I didn't think much about it. He stood up, he wished us all good morning, he thanked us for coming in, and he told us that all of our jobs were eliminated. I was a little confused by that, but being a former film student, the first thing I thought of was Glengarry Glen Ross, and you know what I'm gonna say, right? First prize, a Cadillac Eldorado. Second prize, a set of steak knives. Third prize, you're fired. But this was different. This was a job elimination, and to my almost 30-year-old mind, I was thinking, what is a job elimination? If you're firing my job, what happens to me? Well, he showed an image on the screen for all of us, and it turned out to be that all of our jobs were gone, but they were going to be replaced with different jobs with different names, though the same jobs. And he invited us to apply for the new jobs with the new name that was similar to the jobs that were just cut with the old name. And as we were wrapping our heads around this, I looked harder at the chart and I noticed something quite dark. And that is the number of jobs that were new was substantially less than the number of suddenly unemployed people in the room. They took no questions. They just sent us home and asked us to send an email with the job that we wanted. There was no interview, no resume, no cover letter. It reminded me of the questions you answer when you go to the DMV. I was quite nervous at first, but then I soothed myself with the notion that, hey, you know, this is a reorg. I've heard about this. There's no problem with this because reorgs happen all the time. So what? Goodbye, producer. Hello, content manager. Three things made me fairly confident. And I had three things on my side. One of them was I had gotten a lot of good reviews from my managers. Another one was that I'd been promoted several times in 3 years. And another was that I was incredibly naive. And so those things filled me with a certain confidence. So when I went back there about a week later and they called me into the room, which was a little like American Idol and the moments when they tell you if you made the cut or not, because we were called in one at a time to this room. And I sat across from a young man who told me 12 words. He had been working for the company maybe a month, maybe about 6 weeks, you could tell, because he was wearing a tie, and you don't do that at Nickelodeon. His 12 words were, Joel, you applied for the content manager job. You didn't get it. It might have been 14 words, but if you said, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention at that point. I was stunned. It was like when someone slaps you, but it's not the kind of slap where you want to fight back. It's the kind of slap where you just want to cry. I mean, I was fired. Not just, cut, which is the kind of thing you do to a steak that has a bit of fat on it, or let go as if gravity does most of the work. No, I was capital F, fired. I actually prefer the English sacked, because it has a much more realistic, poundage to it. I moved on back to my desk, and I noticed that there were empty boxes, cardboard boxes all over it. And we were given instructions to fill those boxes with our personal items, to wrap them up, put our address on it, and they would send it back to our homes because they wanted us out and never to return. So I was filling up those boxes, thinking about my lost job, what it meant to me. I mean, it was not just my job, it was my purpose. It was my paycheck. It was my business card. It was my icebreaker when I went to parties. I mean, everything was now gone. So what started as this slow drip, drip of my personal items into the box became this sort of savage moving of all sorts of equipment and study supplies into the box. I put in Post-it notes. I put in staples. I put in tape, pieces of tape. I put in fax machines. Basically, everything that wasn't nailed down, I put into that box. And when it was all sealed and I left, I walked back to the front of the office and I passed back all of the things that I had taken for granted, the big orange tables and chairs, the big mural of Rugrats, it was Rugrats time, on the wall. I took the elevator down, I crossed the lobby, I went into the revolving doors that led to the outside, and I took a couple of spins in them, I have to admit, because I like the idea of being suspended between that place and whatever place was going to happen next. And I bring that grief and that moment of Mayday with me to every job I've had since in all those years, because it reminds me never to get too comfortable. In the business world, opportunity feels like a gift, but remember that sometimes it's just a loan. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. Keep it going for Joel. Keep it going for all of our storytellers tonight. You've been a fantastic audience. Thank you for being such a generous group. We're going to invite our judges to head back upstairs so they can deliberate. They'll have about 10 minutes upstairs. The bar is open. Please go meet a storyteller, connect with the people sitting next to you, and don't talk about Sickelodian. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back with you in about 10 minutes. Enjoy. All right, everybody. If we could just give one more wonderful round of applause to all of our storytellers tonight. We'll find out our first, second, and third place prizes. And just storytellers, so you know, we'll want to take a picture of the judge who's giving you your prize here, so we get that documented for this evening. And then we'll get a picture with the winners, as well as all of our participants tonight. So, our first judge.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Okay. I'm here to announce the third place winner, but before then, want to say thank you to everyone for showing up, for supporting friends, family, anything of the like, and honestly for all of the Montclair Film staff for hosting this and making sure that you all had a wonderful night, assuming everyone had a wonderful night. Yes, perfect. Okay. The third place winner was certainly a funny story. It was very difficult to choose because we were between so many. But the sort of pace of the story, the way that everything went through, and as someone who has like personally lost someone, but then, you know, looking for those moments of joy, happiness, family togetherness, we super appreciated this story. And so third place goes to Jennifer Shaw.
All right, Jennifer, come on down. Congratulations. Thank you for getting that swag bag in the picture. Congrats. All right, second place. Ruben, who we got?
I want to echo that I know this sounds trite, but like everybody really was a winner tonight, and we changed who was in this mix like 3 or 4 times and only landed here because Jennifer was like, go downstairs. So second place, we all loved how this took us to 1983 New York and giving up your day job to, rough it out on the street. Dan, come on up.
All right, congratulations, Dan. Second place.
Wow. I don't get popcorn.
Dan, if you'll just step in the middle, we'll get a picture with you and Ruben. Thanks so much. All right, let's give it up one more time for Dan. And our first place prize.
First place prize. So this person, their story was captivating from beginning to end. Very, I would say, cerebral, very like heartfelt. And it's no other than Michael.
All right, Mikey, come on down.
Congratulations.
Will you flip that swag bag for us, Mikey? Congratulations, Doctor.
All of you guys. Okay.
All right, we are going to get a picture with all of our storytellers here tonight. we can have everybody come up so we can get a picture to document tonight's evening. Thank you so much for sharing a bit of yourself with us. All right, we're going to have to get a little cozy to help our photographer out here. Yeah, judges, if you'll come join us here in the picture. Let's get tight. Go prom pose style. Turn to the side just a little bit. Thank you, Farah. Oh, double down. All right, thank you so much. Congrats to our winners. Thank you to all of our storytellers. You've been a fantastic audience. Even though we're done StorySLAM for a little while, check us out, montclairfilm.org. We got tons of events going on. We'd love to see you back. Have a great night. Get home safe, everybody. Thank you.